Welcome back to Revise and Resubmit, the podcast that takes, those really dense academic papers and makes them surprisingly interesting. I'm Pavlov.
And I'm Nikita. Today, we're going to be looking at something you asked about. You had a question about product design and specifically how those human-like qualities, the ones companies love to add to products, well, we're going to see how those can backfire when it's time for resale.
Interesting area.
Yeah, we're talking toasters with smiles, cars with faces. You got the idea. You mentioned an upcoming presentation, so we did some research that might give you a bit of an edge.
Yeah, it's a fascinating area and not always intuitive. We'll be exploring a paper from the Journal of the Academy of Marketing Science. It was published in 2025, and the title is When Previous Relationships Limit the New, the Interplay Between Product Anthropomorphism and Used Products.
Okay. That title alone is a mouthful. But before we get lost in all the academic jargon, can you just kind of break down this whole product anthropomorphism thing?
Absolutely. It's really just the practice of giving products human-like characteristics. So, think about voice assistants like Alexa. We talk to them, we ask them questions almost as if they were, like a friend hanging out in our kitchen.
Right.
Or cars with headlights that look like eyes, giving the vehicle a face. It's a powerful tool marketers use to, build that stronger connection between consumers and the product.
Right, it's everywhere. Makes sense why companies do it. But this research claims that when it comes to the used market, this whole friendly product thing can actually hurt resale value. That's kind of counterintuitive. Yeah,
it is, and I think that's what makes the research so interesting. Think about it this way. When we see a product that's been kind of dumped by its previous owners, especially one that's, designed to feel like a companion, it makes us wonder, what's wrong with it?
Yeah.
Did it let the previous owner down? Was it not reliable?
Yeah, it's like imagining my little robot vacuum cleaner got, ghosted by its last owner.
Right.
Ouch. Suddenly it's not so cute anymore. So is that what the researchers mean by relationship-dissolution stigma?
Exactly. They borrow this concept from sociology, and I think it really applies to products as well. The idea is that we subconsciously apply the same judgments we would to human relationships. So if a product was rejected, we start questioning its character, so to speak.
So I'm less likely to trust a used Alexa than, say, a used blender.
Precisely. Especially because the researchers found that the reliability dimension of this stigma is much stronger than the sociability one, for products. So we're more worried about functionality than whether a toaster was, friendly enough.
So let's get into some specifics. The research paper mentioned toasters. Can you unpack that example for us?
Sure. The researchers used AI to analyze thousands of eBay toaster listings. And what they found was that used toasters with anthropomorphic features, like those kind of cutesy designs we talked about, had significantly lower buy-it-now prices compared to plain non-anthropomorphized toasters. So, it really highlights that this effect is specific to the used market. For brand new products, anthropomorphism still generally has a positive effect on purchase decisions.
Wow, that's pretty wild. It flips the script on everything we think we know about making products appealing. Makes you wonder, what can sellers do about this? Are they just stuck if they're trying to sell, a friendly coffee maker or a smiley car?
Not necessarily. The researchers also found some really interesting factors that can lessen the negative impact.
Okay, now we're talking. Give us those nuggets of wisdom. I bet our listener is all ears for this part, especially with that presentation coming up.
So one factor is the seller's expressed attachment to the product.
Yeah.
Let's say you're selling that coffee maker and you mentioned in the description, I absolutely love this thing, but I'm moving and can't take it with me. That kind of language can actually weaken the negative effect of the anthropomorphism.
Yeah, because it makes the breakup seem less about the product's fault, right? It wasn't rejected, but rather just circumstance, outside its control.
Exactly. It's about how people make attributions. If the reason for selling is external to the product itself, like needing cash, relocating, or receiving it as a gift, it's less likely to be seen as flawed.
Okay, so those are good tips for individual sellers. But what about businesses? Is there anything they can do to combat this stigma, especially with products that are, kind of inherently designed to feel human-like those robot vacuum cleaners we were talking about?
There is, and this is a great takeaway for your presentation. Think about the used car market.
Okay.
The researchers tested how the certified pre-owned label impacted the sale of anthropomorphized cars. And guess what? they found that this strategy significantly reduced the negative price impact.
So it's like that stamp of approval reassures buyers that the product is still reliable, even if it's, pre-loved. It kind of overrides that initial relationship baggage we might project onto it. This is fascinating stuff.
It really is.
Yeah.
And what's remarkable about this finding is that it highlights how our, emotional connection with objects is changing consumption patterns. It's blurring the lines between used and new in unprecedented ways.
I'm already rethinking how I approach buying used goods. This is like unlocking a secret code of the consumer market. So we've uncovered the problem and hinted at solutions. But what does this all mean for our listener and their upcoming presentation?
That's a great question, and one we'll delve into further in the next part of our deep dive. We'll explore the practical implications of this research and how your listener can use these insights to make their presentation truly stand out.
Sounds good. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Before I left off, we were getting into some really interesting stuff about how giving products these human-like qualities, making them look like people,
right,
it can actually backfire in the used market because of this whole relationship dissolution stigma thing.
Exactly. And I think this has some pretty important implications for anyone who's interested in consumer behavior, marketing, or even, just understanding how we value objects in the world today.
For sure. So let's connect this back to our listener and, their upcoming presentation. What are some of the key takeaways they should be focusing on?
I think, first of all, they should really emphasize that this research challenges a lot of the conventional wisdom about product design. Mm-hmm. It's not enough to just make a product, cute or friendly anymore.
Right.
You have to consider the entire life cycle of the product, including, what happens when it hits the secondhand market.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's almost like those adorable features become a liability once the, honeymoon phase of ownership is over. What else should our listener highlight?
Well, this whole concept of relationship dissolution stigma is a real game changer, I think. It shows that our emotional connection with objects goes way deeper than we realize.
Yeah.
And, those emotions can have a real impact on a product's perceived value.
It's almost like we're judging products based on their relationship history. Did they have a good run with their previous owner? Were they treated well? This is blowing my mind. Okay, so our listener needs to emphasize this stigma and how it affects resale. What about solutions? What can businesses and consumers do to kind of navigate this tricky terrain?
Well, we touched on a few practical strategies before. For individual sellers, just being transparent about the reason for selling is key. If you can emphasize that you're not dumping the product, but rather parting ways due to, external circumstances, that can really help to lessen the stigma.
Right, it's not you, it's me, but for, toasters and robot vacuum cleaners.
Exactly.
I love it.
And for businesses, that certified pre-owned strategy is, really powerful tool. It provides that extra layer of assurance and helps to counteract those negative assumptions that buyers might have about a used product.
Especially for those products that are already trying to be our buddies. It's like a reassurance that, hey, this little guy may have had a past relationship, but it's, still got a lot of love to give.
Okay, I think we've given our listeners some really solid ammunition for their presentation. Anything else they should keep in mind?
I think it's important to emphasize that this research is really just the tip of the iceberg. There's still so much we don't know about how anthropomorphism affects consumer behavior in the long run. It's an evolving field, and this study opens up a whole new avenue of inquiry.
Yeah, it definitely raises more questions than answers. Like, how does this effect play out across different cultures? Are there certain personality types that are, more or less susceptible to this stigma? It's fascinating to think about.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just physical products, too. Think about, digital goods, virtual items in video games, even NFTs. Could this relationship dissolution stigma apply to those as well?
Whoa, now that's a whole other deep dive. I'm already picturing a, certified pre-owned NFT.
Yeah.
Would that even work? That's an interesting question. As our world becomes increasingly digital, these lines between, ownership and usage are getting blurrier and blurrier.
Right.
But that underlying psychology, that sense of a product having, a past relationship could still be at play.
It's mind-blowing how something as seemingly simple as, buying a used product can lead to such deep insights about human behavior and the future of consumerism. I feel like I've unlocked, a new level of understanding. This has been an amazing deep dive. Any final thoughts for our listener before we wrap up?
I think the key takeaway here is that we need to start thinking more critically about the relationships we form with the products we use. As technology advances and those lines between the physical and digital worlds continue to blur, understanding these dynamics will become, even more important.
Well said. This is definitely a topic I'll be pondering for a long time. Thanks for guiding us through this fascinating research. I have a feeling our listener is walking away with, a lot more than just presentation material.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
It's always a joy to explore these ideas and share them with others.
And to our listener, thanks for tuning in to the deep dive. We hope you enjoyed this exploration of product anthropomorphism and the used market. Until next time, keep asking those curious questions and never stop learning. Wow, we've been on quite a journey today, haven't we? From toasters to Teslas, we've dug deep into how giving products those human-like qualities can really affect their value, especially in the used market.
Yeah, it's amazing how much there is to uncover, even in these seemingly simple consumer behaviors. And the implications go way beyond just buying and selling used goods.
It's making me think about all the smart devices I have in my home. Now I'm starting to see them in a whole new light, almost as if they have, their own personalities and histories.
Right. And that's where things get really interesting. As technology keeps advancing, we're going to be interacting with, increasingly sophisticated and human-like products.
Yeah.
So understanding the psychology behind how we perceive these products, especially in the context of ownership and resale, that's going to become even more important.
Yeah, it's like we're entering this whole new era of consumerism where the lines between product and companion are, they're getting blurred.
Exactly. And that raises all sorts of ethical considerations. Like, for example, if we become too attached to our smart products, are we going to be less likely to upgrade them, even if it's, environmentally beneficial to do so? Or what happens to our data and privacy when these products are resold or even discarded? These are questions we need to be thinking about right now.
Those are some really important points. It's almost like we're at a crossroads where we need to decide how much humanity we want to, inject into our products.
Yeah.
And what the consequences of that could be.
For sure. And this research on, product anthropomorphism in the used market, it gives us a valuable lens to view these issues. It shows how our emotions and perceptions can really influence consumer behavior in ways that we might not even be aware of.
I feel like I'm walking away from this deep dive with a whole new level of awareness, not just as a consumer, but also as someone who's just fascinated by technology and the future of society. This research really gets you thinking.
I'm glad to hear that. That's the whole point of these deep dives, right? To spark curiosity and challenge assumptions and encourage folks to explore these complex topics.
Absolutely. So for our listener who's prepping for that presentation, I think we've given them plenty to think about. But even beyond that, I hope that this conversation has encouraged them to think more critically about the products they use and the choices they make, as a consumer.
Well said. Knowledge is power, after all.
Right.
And the more we understand about the forces that are shaping our world, the better equipped we'll be to navigate the future.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And to our listeners, we hope you've enjoyed this exploration of product anthropomorphism and the used market. Until next time, keep asking those curious questions and never stop learning.
And don't forget to subscribe to Revise and Resubmit on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for more captivating deep dives like this one. And if you're enjoying the show and want to support us in creating more insightful content, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. Every contribution helps us continue this journey of exploration and discovery. Until next time, keep those minds curious, keep questioning, and keep revising and resubmitting.
Like it's turning to shame. Somebody used it, somebody left. Now it carries all the scars of regret. Can't erase what's written in the past. Every scratch, every mark, it was built to last. But you see it like it goes in the room, like it's whispering warnings of doom. Will you take me, or just break me? Torn apart, but I still remain. Through the fire, through the rain. Would you see me as something new? Or am I nothing left to you? I'm not broken, I'm still alive. Falling pieces, but I still survive. You don't want me, but I won't fade. Still screaming from the mess you made. to use for you. I'm not broken, I'm still alive. All in pieces but I still survive. You don't want me, but I won't fade. Still screaming from the mess you made. I'm not broken for you. All in pieces but I still survive. You don't want me, but I won't fade. Or just see me as something new. Or am I nothing left to you? Or am I nothing left to you? I'm not broken for you. Or am I nothing left to you? I was never just a thing. You gave me a name, now you walk away. But I was never the one who changed.